Everything we build sooner or later ends up left behind. That goes for entire cities and stuff small enough to sit in your hand. Even the most iconic places, prized creations, and treasured artifacts will one day be forgotten by the very people who built and adored them, and when that happens, they might just end up in a video like this one. So let's kick off our abandoned world tour with number 15, Arctic Henge. If there are words to describe broken ambition, Arctic Henge might be it. Set in Hrofarhuf, one of Iceland's northernmost villages, this half-finished monument stands as a cold reminder of what was meant to be. Inspired by Stonehenge, it was supposed to capture the sun's rays, track shadows, and turn ancient Norse mythology into stone. The idea came from Erlingur Thordarson in 1998, finalized in 2004, with designer Hallkur Halldórsson linking 72 dwarfs from the Eddic poem Völuspá to a calendar. Each dwarf ruled for 5 days. Each had a name, a personality, a role, but nothing got finished. There's a ring of gates, open to the wind, walls that never met their purpose, a central pillar that waits for a glass prism that never arrived. Statues stand, weather-beaten, trails are empty. The so-called throne of the sun hasn't seen a traveler in years. What's left is stone, silence, and stalled potential. A structure frozen mid-dream, now abandoned on a lonely hill. No signs, no maintenance, just rock and regret. Number 14, Los Angeles Old Zoo. Before the LA Zoo as we know it opened in 1966, a smaller, rougher version existed within Griffith Park. First opened in 1912, this older zoo barely passed for an attraction on its opening day. It had just 15 animals. It operated for decades despite its limitations, slowly expanding during the 1930s. Those same concrete cages and holding pits from that era are still standing today. What's different now is that people come here for picnics, not lions or zebras. The enclosures are kept surprisingly clean, almost out of respect. Walk through it and you'll find barbecue grills tucked between rusted steel bars, visitors lounging where bears once paced, and faded signage next to hollow dens. It's an odd space, equal parts tranquil and tragic. You're standing where animals once lived out their days behind iron gates, now left open to anyone with a sandwich and a blanket. It's not a zoo anymore, but the bones of one still echo in the sun. Number 13. Bunker 599. Built in 1940 as part of the Dutch water line, Bunker 599 was one of hundreds of concrete defenses scattered across the Netherlands in anticipation of a German invasion during World War II. Each bunker housed a small unit of soldiers, forming a massive defensive wall meant to flood if needed. But Bunker 599 stands out for what happened in 2010 when an architecture firm cut it in half. Using a precision wire saw, they sliced the bunker clean through the middle, installed a staircase, and added a concrete path that runs right through it, ending in a footbridge over a shallow lake. This bold redesign transformed the wartime relic into a symbolic art piece. It doesn't just look surreal, it feels like a statement, a literal break in the line. It's a reminder that this land was once meant to be submerged on purpose, a defensive sacrifice. Today, Bunker 599 is under consideration for UNESCO World Heritage status. It's not just a relic, it's a sculpted scar. Number 12. Jarlschoff Ruins. Jarlschoff looks more like a fantasy movie set than a real place. But this isn't fiction. It's history piled on top of history, buried and revealed over thousands of years. Located in Sundbyberg, Shetland, Jarlschoff holds layers from the Bronze Age, Iron Age, Norse periods, and even the 18th century. People kept rebuilding over what came before, turning the site into a sort of time-warped settlement. Its rediscovery wasn't planned. In the 19th century, a fierce storm pulled back layers of earth, uncovering walls, tools, and stone structures that had been hidden for centuries. The Norse built longhouses, Iron Age roundhouses, and Bronze Age huts all still stand in pieces, whispering about those who lived, fought, and farmed here. One standout building, the House of Sumburg, is said to be the earliest Scottish castle, its stone skeleton still upright despite time's assault. Grass has overtaken most of the ruins, giving everything a soft, dreamlike appearance. But underneath is a deep, raw historical truth. Scotland's roots exposed. Number 11. The Red Sea Star. The Red Sea Star was unlike any other restaurant on the planet. Located in Eilat, Israel, this wasn't a trendy rooftop spot or a gimmicky-themed diner. It was built entirely underwater. Named for its starfish-like shape, the Red Sea Star offered guests panoramic views of coral gardens and colorful fish drifting by while they dined beneath the surface. But it wasn't just a dining experience, it felt otherworldly. Sadly, the restaurant is now permanently closed. Its windows dark, its once vibrant surroundings faded. Guests who visited back then still talk about the eerie beauty and the quiet, dreamlike atmosphere. For those uncomfortable with dining below sea level, the Metro Bar stood directly above, offering a view across the Gulf of Aqaba without the pressure change. To this day, there's no confirmed report of another underwater restaurant ever built on this scale. Its closure wasn't just the end of a business, it was the fading out of one of the boldest dining ideas ever attempted. Alright guys, now, let's move to number 10. The Chinati Foundation. The Chinati Foundation in Marfa, Texas, sits on what used to be a remote military base, long abandoned by the army. What stands there now is something far more unusual, a massive open-air art installation created by minimalist artist Donald Judd. He turned the space into an artistic haven and opened it to the public in 1986. Over time, more artists joined in, adding works made from industrial scraps, think aluminum boxes, salvaged car parts, and light tubes. But even though it's open, Chinati rarely sees crowds. Anyone hoping to experience it needs to pre-book a guided tour and pack water and sturdy shoes, because exploring this sprawling desert gallery will eat up your whole day. There's a quiet sadness in how few people show up to see it. Art like this isn't meant to live in silence, but that's the strange charm of Chinati. It's a full-on creative sanctuary hiding in plain sight, hauntingly beautiful and mostly ignored. Number 9. Skeleig Monastery. On Ireland's remote western edge, rising like jagged stone from the Atlantic, sits Skeleig, home to one of Europe's most isolated monastic sites. It's not just a dramatic backdrop from The Last Jedi, it's a real place that's been standing since the 7th century. Rough stone huts, stairways, and terraces cling to a cliff 700 feet above sea level, where monks once lived in complete solitude. They grew vegetables, copied texts, and practiced quiet devotion until Norse raids shattered the peace in the 9th century. By the 12th century, the monastery was fully abandoned. What remains are beehive-like dwellings and centuries-old paths that still wind up the slopes like time never moved. Few from the Irish mainland had even heard of the island until Hollywood turned its lens toward it. But Skeleig never needed a spotlight. It's a survivor, weathered, wind-battered, and unchanged for nearly 1,000 years. Even in silence, the stones still hold the weight of lives lived on the edge of the world. Number 8. Hallens Village. Well, now this one is just heartbreaking. There was a time when Hallens, a small English fishing village perched along the Devon coastline, bustled with life and joy. But that time is long gone. What led to its downfall wasn't just storm damage, it was a man-made decision with brutal consequences. In the late 19th century, engineers began removing massive amounts of shingle from nearby Start Bay to expand a naval harbor in Plymouth. That shingle acted as a natural barrier. Once it vanished, the sea started eating away at the coastline. In 1917, a massive storm tore through what remained. Homes collapsed, the path disappeared, and the sea didn't give anything back. Today, only a few scattered ruins remain. The village is inaccessible, dangerous, and rarely spoken of. What used to be a peaceful seaside settlement now exists as a cautionary tale. When nature is stripped of its defenses, it fights back. And it doesn't care how long your family has lived there. The village was lost, not by chance, but by choice. Number 7. Zossen sits Winkle Towers. Well, just look at that thing. Just outside Berlin in Zossen, these strange concrete monoliths still rise above the treetops like forgotten sentinels. These are Winkle Towers, nicknamed concrete cigars, built by architect Leo Winkle under Nazi command. Their odd tapering shape wasn't a design choice for style, it was meant to deflect bomb impacts. Sloped sides helped minimize explosion damage, and though dozens were targeted during air raids, only one was ever truly destroyed. The Zossen cluster marks what was once the Nazi Supreme Command Center. After the war, Soviet forces leveled as many towers as they could, yet a few here somehow survived demolition. No one's sure why these were left standing. They look awkward, even ugly, but there's a kind of brutal brilliance in how stubbornly they've lasted. Covered in grime and graffiti, silent and sealed, the towers don't say much, but they don't need to. Their presence alone feels like a warning from the past, one that's still rooted in the soil, unpolished and uninvited. Number 6. Odham Castle. Odham Castle's history is tied to power, politics, and slow decay. Built on the order of King John around 1207, it was one of only 3 castles he ever commissioned during his reign. There's an old claim that he stayed there the night before signing the Magna Carta, though proof remains elusive. What's certain is that the castle saw war almost immediately. Besieged by French forces in 1216, it held firm and later served royals, noble guests, and even hosted the English Parliament for a time. But by the 1400s, the royals moved on. Odham eventually became a hunting lodge, then nothing at all. What's left now is a moss-covered skeleton of stone, part walls, fractured towers, and a fading moat. Unlike the castles polished up for tourism, Odham wasn't restored, it was just left. No fairy tale glow, no costume tours, just jagged remains of a place that held kings and crumbled all the same. And it reminds us that even kings will die. Number 5. The Sun Tunnels. There is nothing more beautiful than this. We mean just look at them. Out in the stark desert of Wendover, Utah, 4 concrete cylinders lie quietly in the sun until the sky lights them up. Built by artist Nancy Holt in 1976, the sun tunnels are more than minimal sculptures. They're astronomical instruments crafted with precision and purpose. Each tunnel has holes bored into its sides to represent a different constellation: Capricorn, Columba, Perseus, and Draco. When the sun hits just right, those star patterns project onto the tunnel walls like ghostly blueprints of the night sky. Even more striking on the summer and winter solstices, the sun rises and sets in perfect alignment through the tunnels. After nearly 5 decades, the concrete has weathered, but Holt's vision still holds. It's a raw, silent experience, no guards, no fences, just a fusion of sky and structure that invites reflection. These tunnels aren't trying to shout. They're just waiting for someone to look, breathe, and align with something bigger. Alright guys, now let's move to Number 4. Fordlandia. In the late 1920s, Henry Ford decided he'd had enough of relying on European-controlled rubber markets. So he carved out a chunk of Brazil's rainforest and built an entire town, Fordlandia. It was supposed to be self-sufficient, neat houses, clean streets, a school, a hospital, and of course rows of rubber trees. Workers were paid fairly, but Ford's attempt at social engineering veered into the bizarre. He banned alcohol, enforced a vegetarian diet, and micromanaged from Michigan. Workers rebelled, understandably. Riots broke out, tools were downed, and the entire social experiment began to unravel. By the late 1930s, the project was all but dead. The rubber trees failed due to poor planning, and the jungle slowly started reclaiming everything. Today, Fordlandia is a shell, its houses empty, its factories gutted. Ford never stepped foot in the town that bore his name, and it never produced a single usable tire. What's left is a capitalist utopia turned ghost town, overtaken by vines and silence. Number 3. End of the world cinema. Tucked into the golden sands near Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, sits a decaying outdoor cinema that never showed a single film. Built in the late 1990s by Frenchman Din Edale, this cinema was a dream brought to life with 700 wooden seats and a massive screen ready to premiere Jurassic Park under the open sky. But opening night never happened. Just as the film was set to begin, the generators mysteriously failed. Rumors say local authorities pulled the plug, claiming Edale lacked proper permits. Whatever the truth, the project was abruptly shut down. For years, the empty chairs stood like skeletons in the sand, weathered by heat and wind. In 2018, vandals wrecked much of what was left, prompting the Egyptian government to block off the site entirely. Now it's a cinematic ghost town, an ambitious vision swallowed by red tape, heat, and silence. Not even one frame ever rolled, but its story still lingers like a lost reel. Number 2. Varosia Resort. Varosia was once the jewel of Cyprus, a coastal paradise filled with luxury hotels, beachside cafes, and an endless stream of visitors. From the 1960s through early 1974, it was a favorite destination for celebrities and politicians alike. In simple words, it was like heaven on earth. But when Turkish forces invaded Cyprus that same year, everything changed. Residents fled in a panic, leaving cars in driveways and half-packed suitcases on hotel beds. In the decades since, Varosia has been frozen in time. Buildings now crumble behind barbed wire, while furniture, clothes, and rusted cars remain exactly where they were left. Turkey has held control over the area ever since, and access is still tightly restricted. It's no longer just a ghost town, it's a sealed memory, a modern ruin surrounded by political tension. The air of abandonment is so complete that stepping near the fences feels like staring at a paused reel of history. It's unlikely anyone will return to claim what they left. Varosia isn't just lost, it's been locked out of time. Number 1. Lefrenuk bunkers. What began as grim Nazi artillery bunkers during World War II now looks more like a surreal art park on the French coast. Located in Lefrenuk near Dunkirk, these heavy concrete structures were part of the Atlantic Wall, fortifications meant to repel Allied invasions. After the war, the French military reclaimed the area, but soon deemed it outdated, leaving the bunkers to decay in silence through the 1950s. Decades later, artists stepped in and changed everything. Graffiti came first, but eventually entire surfaces were reimagined with mosaic shells, vibrant murals, and even mirrored exteriors that shimmer beneath the sun. Each one carries a distinct style, some chaotic, some minimal, others reflective to the point of disorientation. The site became an evolving gallery where brutal history and modern creativity clash on the same walls. It's still raw and unpolished, and that's what makes it work. These bunkers weren't erased. They were claimed, transformed, and redefined by people with spray cans and a refusal to forget. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.